The destructive power of anger. Have you ever said something in anger and felt that sting of regret the very moment the words left your mouth? It happens to the best of us. One moment, we are just defending ourselves. The next, we've hurt someone we love. And then comes the silence. The heaviness. The realization that some words, once spoken, can't be taken back. Anger has that kind of power. It's like a wildfire. It starts with a spark and can quickly consume everything in its path. Relationships that took years to build can be destroyed in a single outburst. Peace of mind, clarity, even self-respect, all swept away by a storm we didn't see coming. And yet, anger often feels so right in the moment, doesn't it? It feels justified. Like we are finally standing up for ourselves. Like we have to say something, do something, because to stay silent would mean letting someone win. But if we look a little closer, we might notice something deeper beneath the surface. What if I told you anger isn't really the root emotion? More often than not, anger is just a mask. Behind it, there's pain. There's fear. There's disappointment. Sometimes it's the hurt of being misunderstood, ignored, disrespected, or simply not seen for who we are. The fire we think is righteous rage is often just unhealed wounds, screaming to be heard. The Buddha spoke of this. He taught that anger arises not from the situation itself, but from our attachment to our ego, our expectations, our belief in how things should be. Think about it. Someone cuts you off in traffic. The moment is gone in 3 seconds. But for the next 30 minutes, you're gripping the steering wheel tight, replaying it, cursing under your breath. Why? Because it felt personal. The ego says, they shouldn't treat me like that. But here's the truth, anger is not something we have to obey. We can pause. We can observe it. We can choose whether to feed it or let it pass. The Buddha once said, holding on to anger is like grasping a hot coal with the intent of throwing it at someone else. You are the one who gets burned. Think about that for a second. We think our anger will teach someone a lesson. But more often than not, it's us who carry the damage. Our nervous system remains tense. Our mind races with imaginary arguments. Our sleep gets interrupted. Meanwhile, the other person might be carrying on with their day, completely unaware of the storm inside us. Anger is a natural human emotion. It will rise. But it doesn't have to take over. The power lies in what we do with it. This isn't about suppressing anger or pretending to be endlessly calm. It's about understanding where it really comes from and learning to respond rather than react. So next time you feel that fire building inside you, ask yourself, not, what can I do with this anger? But, what is this anger trying to show me? Because once we stop being controlled by anger, we can start listening to it. And that's where real freedom begins. The root of anger. Have you ever been in a situation where your anger felt bigger than the moment itself? Like someone cuts you off in traffic. It happens in a flash. They are gone. No harm done. But for the next hour, you're still gripping the steering wheel, replaying it over and over, silently fuming. How dare they? Don't they see me? That was so disrespectful. It wasn't just about the car. It was something deeper. Here's the thing most of us never get taught. Anger is rarely the root emotion. It's often just the surface, the smoke, not the fire. Underneath that smoke, there's usually something more tender. Hurt. Fear. Shame. A feeling of being ignored, misunderstood, or powerless. And anger. It steps in to cover that up. Like a mask. It gives us something that feels stronger to hold on to. But what happens when we only listen to the mask? We react. We raise our voice. We slam a door. We say things we don't mean. We push people away, all because we never looked underneath. Buddhist wisdom gives us a powerful lens here. The Buddha taught that anger doesn't arise from nowhere. It comes from attachment. Not just attachment to objects or people, but attachment to our identity, to our expectations, and to how we think things should be. We get angry because we feel something was taken from us. Respect. Fairness. Control. That traffic example. It's not about traffic. It's about me thinking, they shouldn't do that to me. And right there, the ego speaks. When we take things personally, we invite anger to stay. We let a stranger's 5-second mistake ruin our peace for hours. That's the cost of holding on. The Buddha once compared anger to grasping a hot coal, intending to throw it at someone else. But who gets burned first? We do. Let that image sink in for a moment. You pick up the coal, ready to retaliate, but before it ever leaves your hand, it's already scarring you. I used to think managing anger was about learning how to calm down. But the real work, it's in learning to see anger for what it truly is, a signal, not a sentence. A few months ago, I got into a small argument with someone I love. They said something, I snapped back. It wasn't even about what they said, it was how I felt underneath. I felt unappreciated. And instead of expressing that vulnerability, anger rushed in to protect me, to cover up the wound. But the damage it caused, that was real. What if, in that moment, I had paused and asked myself, what am I really feeling? What if instead of reacting, I had responded with honesty? That's what this path is about. Not suppressing our anger, but understanding it. Asking, what pain is hiding underneath this flame? What story is my mind telling me right now? What expectations am I clinging to? Because when we name the true feeling, we stop giving power to the mask. We stop letting anger run the show. And maybe, just maybe, we begin to heal. From reaction to mastery, learning to observe anger. Have you ever noticed how quickly we react when anger flares up? It's almost like something hijacks us. One moment, everything is fine, and the next, we're raising our voice, slamming a door, or storming out of the room. And then comes the silence, the kind that doesn't feel peaceful. It feels heavy, full of regret. So how do we stop that cycle? There's a famous teaching from the Buddha that goes like this. Holding on to anger is like grasping a hot coal with the intent to throw it at someone else. You are the one who gets burned. It's so simple, yet it hits so deep. Because when we hold on to anger, when we grip it tightly, even for just a few moments, it scorches us first. It clouds our clarity. It pushes away the people we care about. And it leaves us feeling even more disconnected than we were to begin with. So what's the alternative? We learn to observe the anger instead of reacting to it. Let me be clear, this isn't about suppressing your anger. That only makes it stronger, like steam building inside a pressure cooker. Sooner or later, it explodes. This is about meeting your anger with awareness, pausing long enough to see it, to name it, and most importantly, to not become it. Mindfulness in the Buddhist tradition is like holding up a mirror. Not to judge what we see, but simply to reflect it honestly. It allows us to say, anger is here. Not, I am angry, but anger is visiting me. Do you feel the difference? When we say, I am angry, we make it who we are. We take it personally. But when we say, anger is here, we create space between ourselves and the emotion. We become the observer, not the prisoner. And in that space, something beautiful happens. We get our power back. I remember one evening, I was exhausted, and someone said something that struck me the wrong way. Instantly, I felt the anger rise. My body tensed. My mind raced to defend, to retaliate, to prove I was right. But for the first time, I did something different. I didn't speak. I didn't act. I simply noticed the anger. I placed a gentle hand on my chest and said silently to myself, this is anger. It's okay. Let's breathe. 3 breaths. That's all it took. And suddenly, the fire dimmed. My body softened. My words, when they came with calm. It's not magic. It's practice. And it starts with one simple tool, the sacred pause. When you feel anger starting to rise, pause. Just pause. You don't need to fix it, justify it, or act on it right away. Just create that sacred little gap between the trigger and the response. Because in that gap, there is choice. There is power. There is peace. So next time someone says something unkind, next time life throws a curveball, next time you feel that heat rise in your chest, try this. Pause. Breathe. Observe. Not with judgment, but with kindness. Not to run from the anger, but to understand it. Because anger, when seen clearly, starts to lose its grip. You are not your anger. You are the awareness beneath it. And the more you practice observing instead of reacting, the more you'll realize peace was never out there. It was waiting inside you all along. The 3-step method to disarm anger. Let me ask you something. Have you ever said something in anger that you wish deeply that you could take back? Words spoken too fast. A tone that cuts deeper than intended. And later, you think, if only I had paused for just a second. That moment right there, the one between what happened and how we respond, is where everything can change. Today, I want to share with you a simple yet powerful 3-step technique to disarm anger before it controls your words, your relationships, and your peace. Step 1. The sacred pause. The moment you feel that heat rising in your chest, that tightness in your jaw, stop. Just pause. Take 3 deep, mindful breaths. It sounds almost too simple, doesn't it? But don't underestimate it. These 3 breaths aren't about calming down instantly. They are about creating space, a sacred pause, between the trigger and your automatic reaction. Because in that pause, something shifts. You begin to notice rather than react. And with noticing comes choice. Think of it like a train speeding down a track. If you don't pull the brake early, it crashes. That pause is the brake. Step 2. Ask yourself, what am I really feeling? Anger is almost never the root emotion. It's a cover. A mask. So gently ask yourself, what's really going on inside me right now? Am I hurt? Do I feel rejected? Do I feel disrespected? Or maybe unheard? When we dig a little deeper, we often discover a softer, more vulnerable feeling behind the fiery one. And that realization, that's where healing begins. For example, imagine you're upset with a friend who cancelled plans last minute. You say you're angry, but underneath, you feel unimportant. Forgotten. Maybe even a little lonely. And when you see that truth, it changes how you show up. Suddenly, instead of lashing out, you might say, hey, I felt really let down. I needed that time together. You speak your truth without using fire to deliver it. Step 3. Let the emotion flow like leaves on a river. Now, imagine sitting beside a quiet river. A leaf falls into the water and drifts past. You don't jump in. You just watch it float by. That's how we can learn to hold our emotions. You don't need to fight your anger. You don't need to drown in it either. Just observe it gently, like a passing cloud or a storm you know will move on. The Buddha once said, you are not your anger. You are the sky. And anger is just the weather. This isn't about pretending the storm isn't there, it's about remembering that you're much bigger than the storm. You are the awareness behind it all. And the more we practice these 3 steps, pause, inquire, observe, the more we begin to respond to life instead of reacting to it. So the next time anger starts knocking at your door, try this. Pause. Breathe. Ask yourself what's really alive inside you. And let it float, just like a leaf on the river of your awareness. You don't need to become the anger. You can just witness it. And from that space of stillness, your response can come from clarity, not fire. Because peace isn't something we wait for. It's something we practice, one breath, one moment at a time. Responding with intention, not instinct. There's a quiet power that lives in the space between what happens to us and how we choose to respond. Most of us never notice that space. We react automatically, emotionally, often regretfully. But what if I told you you don't have to live that way? Let me walk you through something that changed the way I move through conflict, and it starts with a single, powerful shift. Instead of reacting, choose to respond. That difference, though subtle, is everything. Responding versus reacting. See, reacting is fast. It's driven by habit, ego, and emotional reflex. It's snapping at someone who disappointed you. Slamming a door. Sending that text you later delete. Responding, on the other hand, is intentional. It means stepping back, feeling the fire, and choosing your words or your silence with clarity. Sometimes, the best response is to say nothing at all. Other times, it's stepping away from a situation before it escalates. And in some moments, it's speaking up, but from a place of calm, not chaos. Ask yourself, is what I'm about to say coming from wisdom or from the wound? The power of compassionate boundaries, metta. Now here's where it gets deeper and maybe a little unexpected. In Buddhism, there's a practice called metta, loving kindness or compassion. But this isn't about being soft or letting people walk all over you. True compassion also includes strength. It honors boundaries. There's a story I love about a monk who walked through the same village every day. And every day, a man would shout insults at him, trying to provoke, to hurt, to shame. One day, the monk finally turned to him and said gently, "If someone offers you a gift and you choose not to accept it, to whom does the gift belong?" The man paused, confused, and replied, "To the giver, of course." The monk smiled. "Then I do not accept your anger. It remains with you." That is power. That's what it means to respond with awareness, not ego. Compassion is not weakness. Let's be honest, most of us were taught that to be strong, we have to fight back. Speak louder. Win the argument. But what if the real strength lies in not needing to win at all? To look someone in the eye and say, "I understand you're hurting, but I won't carry that pain for you." To walk away not out of fear, but because peace matters more than being right. Compassion, when rooted in clarity, isn't weakness. It's the fiercest kind of courage. And in practicing it, you don't just protect your peace, you inspire others to meet you there. So the next time anger rises, pause. Remember, you have a choice. You can react and fuel the fire, or respond with grace and let it pass. You can absorb someone's anger, or return it gently to where it came from. You are not here to fight every battle. You are here to grow through them. Respond, don't react. And when you can, respond with love. If this message speaks to you, consider subscribing to the channel. We are building a space where awareness meets everyday life, one mindful breath at a time. Training the mind to master emotion. Let me ask you something. Have you ever noticed how easily our emotions can hijack an entire day? One moment, everything's fine. Then someone says the wrong thing, traffic is unbearable, or a plan falls apart, and suddenly, we are caught in a storm of frustration, anger, or sadness. It's not that the emotion itself is the problem. It's that we haven't trained our mind to handle it. Just like we train our bodies at the gym, we can train the mind. And when we do, emotions stop being our masters and start becoming our messengers. Meditation, cultivating awareness. The Buddha once said, "A disciplined mind brings happiness." And if there's one practice that reflects that truth, it's meditation. Now, I'm not talking about sitting cross-legged for hours in silence like a monk. I mean taking even just 5 quiet minutes a day to tune in, to breathe, to notice, to be. Meditation is not about escaping life. It's about arriving fully in it. When you meditate, you build the muscle of awareness. So when anger shows up, you see it, not as who you are, but as something that's visiting. You notice it, breathe with it, and choose how to respond. That's the power of training the mind. Journaling, understanding your emotional landscape. Another powerful habit. Journaling. When you write down what you're feeling, you give form to the fog. You begin to trace patterns, what triggers you, what soothes you, what beliefs lie beneath your reactions. Ask yourself, what keeps repeating in my life? Where do I lose peace the most? What emotion do I avoid feeling? Writing doesn't just clear the mind. It connects you to yourself. And self-knowledge is the root of emotional mastery. Gratitude softening the heart. And then there's gratitude. It sounds simple. Maybe even cliché. But gratitude changes your inner weather. When you take time each day to name 3 things you're grateful for, you shift your focus from what's missing to what's present. From tension to tenderness. It's hard for anger to live in the same space as genuine appreciation. Gratitude doesn't ignore pain. It simply reminds you that even within pain, there is still beauty. Still goodness. Still life. Discipline of the mind equals freedom of the heart. Here's what it all comes down to. Peace isn't something that just shows up when life is easy. Peace is a practice. A discipline. A choice you make over and over again. And it starts by building these quiet, consistent habits. Meditating to notice your thoughts. Journaling to understand your emotions. Practicing gratitude to open your heart. Because when you take care of your inner world, the outer world no longer controls you. You stop living on emotional autopilot and start living with intention. So today, start small. Light a candle. Breathe for 5 minutes. Write down one thing you're feeling. One thing you're thankful for. Over time, these little moments add up to a life that feels less reactive and far more free. You don't have to be perfect. You just have to be present. And that, my friend, is the real beginning of peace. Train the mind and the heart will follow. If this message resonates, subscribe to the channel for more wisdom grounded in everyday life. Let's keep walking this path together, one mindful step at a time. Recognizing someone else's anger without absorbing it. Have you ever walked into a room and felt the tension before a single word was said? Maybe someone raised their voice at you, snapped for no reason, or sent a cold glare your way, and your first instinct was to push back, defend, or maybe silently carry that energy with you all day. But here's a truth we often forget. Just because someone throws their anger at you doesn't mean you have to catch it. I want you to imagine something for a moment. You're walking down a quiet path, enjoying your day. And suddenly, someone throws a bag of garbage right at your feet. Now you have a choice. You can pick it up, carry it home, even hug it tightly while asking, why would they do this to me? Or you can look at it, acknowledge what happened, and keep walking, refusing to let someone else's trash become your burden. Anger is like that. It's often the emotional garbage people carry around, and sometimes they toss it on the nearest person, not because of who you are, but because of what they are dealing with inside. See it, don't absorb it. When someone gets angry at you, especially for something small or unjustified, it can feel personal. But more often than not, it's not. Their reaction isn't a mirror of your worth, it's a reflection of their struggle. Maybe they feel unheard. Maybe they've had a tough day. Maybe they've never learned a healthier way to express pain. If we absorb their anger, we multiply it. But if we can witness it without reacting, we break the chain. This is what Buddhist practice calls non-reactivity. It doesn't mean being passive. It means being powerful enough to not be pulled into someone else's emotional storm. The monk and the gift of anger. There's a story I love. A monk walked through a village every day, and each time, one particular man would insult him, yell at him, try to provoke him. But the monk never responded. One day, the man, exhausted and confused, asked, "Why don't you ever react?" The monk smiled and said, "If someone offers you a gift, and you do not accept it, to whom does the gift belong?" The man replied, "To the one who offered it." The monk nodded. "Then I do not accept your anger. It remains yours." Now pause for a moment. What if you could live that way? Not cold. Not disconnected. But calm and grounded enough to say, "This does not belong to me." This kind of inner stillness isn't something we're born with. It's something we cultivate, moment by moment, choice by choice. The next time someone lashes out, ask yourself, is this really about me? Or am I just the nearest surface for their storm to hit? Break the chain. Here's the beautiful truth. Staying calm doesn't make you weak. It makes you wise. When you refuse to mirror someone else's anger, you stop the spread. You protect your energy. You lead by quiet example. And over time, you'll notice something remarkable. Your peace becomes contagious. Not by force, but by presence. So let today be the beginning of that shift. The next time someone tries to hand you their anger, breathe, observe, and gently say to yourself, "This doesn't belong to me. I don't have to carry it." You don't need to meet fire with fire. Sometimes, silence is strength. Stillness is strategy. And walking away without resentment is the greatest power of all. Be the stillness that ends the storm. If this message resonates with you, consider subscribing for more gentle reminders to protect your peace and walk this path mindfully. Your calm is your greatest contribution to a chaotic world. Let's build that calm together. Transforming anger into understanding. Have you ever paused in the middle of your anger and asked yourself, what is this really about? See, most of us treat anger like a command. We feel it and we act. We lash out, shut down, or let it brew until it poisons our mood, our words, our day. But what if I told you anger isn't a command at all? It's a signal. Emotions are data, not directives. Think of anger as a message, not a mandate. It's like a notification on your phone. It doesn't tell you what to do. It tells you that something inside needs attention. So instead of reacting, try asking, what is this anger trying to show me? Maybe it's pointing to a boundary that was crossed. Maybe it's echoing an old wound that hasn't quite healed. Maybe it's revealing a part of you that still longs to be seen, heard, respected. When we pause and lean in, anger becomes information, not just agitation. Let me offer a personal reflection. A few years ago, I found myself constantly irritated with a colleague. Every little thing they did sparked frustration. But one day, I stopped and really examined the feeling. Beneath the anger was envy. They were confident in ways I wasn't. Outspoken in ways I had silenced myself. It wasn't them I was angry at. It was the part of me I'd abandoned. That shift from blame to awareness changed everything. And that's when I realized anger is often pain in disguise. From pain to growth. The Buddha taught that all emotions, including anger, are teachers. But only if we are willing to listen. So ask yourself gently, what is this anger revealing about the parts of me that still hurt? Sometimes it's childhood wounds resurfacing. Sometimes it's a reminder of unmet needs. Sometimes it's the voice of your inner child screaming for safety, love, or justice. When you start tracing anger back to its root, something beautiful happens. It softens. It shifts. It stops being fire and starts becoming fuel for understanding. Here's a thought worth sitting with. Every time we feel anger, we are actually being invited into a deeper conversation with ourselves. Not to judge. Not to suppress. But to listen. Ask, what fear is underneath this frustration? What expectation wasn't met? What need am I afraid to express? This is not just emotional hygiene, it's emotional wisdom. And over time, that wisdom becomes your greatest strength. The alchemy of awareness. Imagine turning every angry moment into an opportunity, an entry point into healing. Not easy, but transformative. You begin to see the pattern. Not just the surface irritation, but the unspoken grief beneath it. Not just the reaction, but the longing behind it. And with that awareness, anger no longer controls you. You begin to master it, not by force, but by clarity. As the Buddhist teacher Thich Nhat Hanh once said, when another person makes you suffer, it is because he suffers deeply within himself. He does not need punishment, he needs help. That same truth applies inward. When you feel anger rise, it's not your enemy. It's your inner world asking for help, not judgment. So the next time you feel that spark of rage, try this. Instead of fighting it or following it, listen. Ask, what inside me still needs to be seen? And let that be your guide. You'll be surprised at how much peace you uncover when you stop making anger the enemy and start treating it as a messenger. You are not your anger. You are the awareness that can transform it. If this reflection resonates with you, subscribe for more grounded insights like this and share the video with someone who may need it today. We are all walking through fire sometimes. But with the right awareness, we can turn that fire into light. Nurturing compassion for yourself. Let me ask you something that most people don't talk about. Have you ever felt angry and then felt guilty for being angry? As if the anger itself was bad and you were bad for feeling it. It's such a common pattern. First, we get upset at someone or something. Then, instead of understanding our emotion, we turn it inward. We beat ourselves up for not being calm, not being spiritual enough, not being better. And that cycle, it doesn't heal us. It just buries the pain deeper. Self-compassion, the missing step. What if, instead of judging your anger, you treated it the way you would treat a child who's been hurt? Imagine this. A small child runs to you, tears streaming down their face, fists clenched in frustration. Would you yell at them? Shame them? Tell them to grow up? Of course not. You'd bend down, open your arms, and say, "It's okay. Tell me what hurts." That's what self-compassion looks like. And it's exactly what most of us forget to offer ourselves. Anger is human. You are human. And feeling anger doesn't make you broken. It just makes you alive. The problem begins when we turn that anger inward, when we punish ourselves for not being more peaceful, more enlightened, more in control. But judgment doesn't soften anger. Understanding does. Presence does. Kindness, especially toward yourself, absolutely does. From judgment to gentle awareness. Here's a small practice I've found powerful. Next time you feel that heat rise, pause. Put your hand gently on your heart, yes, really, and say to yourself, "I'm hurting right now. I don't need to fix it. I just need to be heard. Not by someone else, but by you. By the part of you that has the courage to feel. Because behind every angry outburst is usually a silent wound. A wound that doesn't need another critic, it needs a witness. It needs compassion. There's a reason the Buddha emphasized loving kindness not just for others, but for ourselves. Because the truth is, when we are kind to ourselves, we are far less likely to project our pain onto the world. We stop blaming. We stop snapping. We stop repeating the cycle of hurt. We become what the world needs more of. People who have met their own pain with tenderness and learned how to offer that same tenderness to others. Think of it like this. Your inner world is like a garden. And every act of self-judgment is a weed. But every act of self-compassion, that's water. That's sunlight. That's the very thing that allows growth. So if you're watching this and thinking, "I've been so hard on myself lately," I want to gently invite you to stop. Not to ignore your emotions, but to meet them differently. With curiosity. With patience. With grace. You don't have to be perfect. You don't have to never get angry again. You just have to keep choosing understanding over shame. That's how healing begins. Let me leave you with this. You are not your anger. You are not your mistakes. You are the one who is learning, growing, returning to love, one moment at a time. So be kind. Be gentle. Be your own soft place to land. Because when you stop fighting yourself, you stop needing to fight the world. And that is how peace begins. If this message touched your heart today, consider subscribing to the channel. And if you know someone who's been a little too hard on themselves lately, share this with them. Sometimes a small reminder of compassion is all we need to start again. The lifelong journey of emotional liberation. Let's be honest with each other for a moment. There are days when it feels like we've made progress, when we pause instead of explode, when we breathe instead of blame. But then there are those days when the same old anger flares up. The same trigger. The same frustration. And you might think, haven't I already learned this lesson? But here's something we often forget. Some lessons don't come once. They come back again and again, until we don't just understand them, we embody them. Anger is a teacher that repeats its lessons. Think of anger not as a failure, but as a returning teacher. Each time it shows up, it's giving you another chance. Another rep at the gym of the soul. Because let's face it, emotional discipline isn't built in a single aha moment. It's built in the practice of choosing differently. Moment by moment. Day by day. The path to inner peace is not about never feeling anger again. It's about relating to it differently each time it comes. Like slowly learning to recognize a storm before it hits and choosing not to walk straight into it. And here's the truth most quick fix culture won't tell you. There's no hack for emotional mastery. No magic phrase, no app, number 3-minute meditation that makes anger disappear for good. What works, truly, deeply works, is building a way of life. A life where calm is practiced daily. Not just summoned in emergencies. Breath, stillness, awareness, not emergency tools, but a lifestyle. You don't train for a marathon by running only when the race begins. You train every day. You stretch, strengthen, recover. Your body learns endurance through consistency. It's the same with your emotional self. Meditation, breathing, journaling, these aren't just things we do when we are on the edge. They are how we stay centered, so we don't get pulled to the edge as often. One deep breath taken every morning is more powerful than 10 breaths taken in crisis. One mindful walk, one page of honest journaling, one moment of stillness, it adds up. Not just to peace, but to freedom. From reaction to liberation. The Buddha didn't just preach techniques, he lived a path. A way of being that recognized anger not as a personal flaw, but as part of the human condition. And also, as something we don't have to be enslaved by. He showed us that liberation isn't found in suppressing what we feel. It's found in understanding what we feel. And then, choosing not to be ruled by it. This is a journey. Not a weekend retreat. Not a 21-day challenge. But a lifetime of choosing compassion over control. Presence over panic. Understanding over reflex. So if you're watching this and thinking, I thought I was past this. Let me tell you something simple, but true. You're not starting over. You're deepening the work. Every time you pause, even for a second, you're building a new habit. Every time you observe instead of react, you're becoming freer. Even when it doesn't feel like progress, it is. Let me end with this. Anger may visit again. Triggers may rise. Old wounds might knock on your door when you least expect it. But you are not powerless. You're walking the same path the Buddha once walked, a path that leads not to perfection, but to liberation. Not to the absence of emotion, but to the presence of wisdom. And on this journey, every step matters. Every breath counts. Keep going. You're not alone. Freedom from anger. Let's end with a gentle truth. Anger is natural. It's human. But it doesn't always deserve a seat at the table. Just because a flame rises doesn't mean you have to fan it. Just because a storm brews inside doesn't mean you must let it pour on everyone around you. We all have moments when anger feels justified. Someone says something unfair. We feel dismissed, disrespected, unseen. And the impulse to lash out, it feels right in the moment. But what if we told you true strength isn't in the eruption? It's in the pause. That quiet moment when you take one breath. Then another. Then one more. And in that sacred space between feeling and reacting, you remember. You are not your anger. You are the awareness that sees it arise and has the power to choose what comes next. This isn't about suppression. It's not about pretending you're always calm. It's about learning to respond with intention instead of reflex. It's about honoring your emotions without becoming them. It's like standing in front of a fire. You can pour gasoline or you can step back and let it burn out. Every time you pause, breathe, and choose not to feed the fire, you're rewiring your inner world. You're building a kind of strength that doesn't shout, but stands tall in silence. The Buddha once said, "You are not punished for your anger. You are punished by your anger." But he also showed us a way out. A way of freedom. Freedom that doesn't mean you never feel again, but that you're no longer trapped by what you feel. You move with peace. You speak with clarity. You live with compassion. That kind of inner power doesn't arrive overnight. But with every pause, with every breath, you take one step closer. So the next time anger knocks, pause. Feel it. See it. And then choose something different. Choose peace. If this message touched something inside you, if you're ready to keep walking this path of awareness, subscribe to the channel. We are building a space for mindful living, one breath at a time. Know someone who struggles with anger. Send this video to them, it might be the reminder they didn't know they needed. And in the comments, tell us, what helps you stay calm when you're angry? Your insight might be the light someone else is looking for. Until next time, be mindful, be kind, and never forget, you are the sky. Anger is just the passing weather.